Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite Shamsdeen Al-Mudan, Arval Consulting Director on stage, who is going to share his vision about remote working and the opportunities that can come from that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's good to see you again. You can take the microphone. Here is the clicker.
I'm not on mute.
No, you are not on mute.
Good afternoon, everyone. Real pleasure to be today with you. I wanted to start the presentation with a question. First, and can you please raise your hand? First, how many of you have been working from home in the last 18 months? Okay, interested. Unexpected. No, I'm joking. And how many of you believes that the fact that working remotely has an impact on your mobility? Indeed, so I think we have the right crowd for the topic. Thank you very much. Indeed, COVID-19 has drastically disrupted many areas of our lives, the lifestyles, the way we work, and of course even our homes. Many of you didn't have an office or a desk at home. Now I'm pretty sure you all have one. With that having been said, it's important for corporates and for also employees to understand how those changes will look like in the years to come, and are those changing will be sustainable over time. So we will be looking into those impacts from a corporate mobility perspective and also a corporate real estate perspective. So I'm Shams Al-Mudan. I'm Arval Consulting Director, and I worked with my team and also with a large player in the real estate market, BNP Real Estate, on that study. So first, let's focus on the market trends. In 2018, so remote working was not an unknown concept. However, it was not so popular. As you can see, the European workforce in 2018, only 5.4% of them was regularly working remotely, which is extremely low, obviously. Now, during the lockdown, where across the board, all function, all type of job were working remotely due to the restrictions, a study has been made that we saw that 25% of those jobs are permanently teleworkable, which means that even after the COVID crisis, those can remain teleworkable without an impact on productivity. However, this is an average. You may say, well, in my country, it's not exactly like that, or in my industry, it's not exactly like that. Of course, countries are different. Countries have an economic, let's say, landscape extremely different, more focus on services, more focus on industry, agriculture, and obviously those sectors are not equal with regards to remote working. And on top of that, a study also mentioned that 60% of the high-skilled jobs are teleworkable, while the blue-collar jobs, only 6% are teleworkable. So this also explains the disparity from one country to another. Now, if we look at mobility, so there was pre-COVID already some trends that we see. The company car policy becoming the mobility policy, the CSR focus. Of course, home working was already there. The sharing economy was existing as well before the COVID. But all those trends, especially with regards to mobility policy and also CSR focus, truly accelerated in 2020 in the heart of the COVID crisis. and we see even today the consequences. And now, if we focus on the short-term impact on mobility from remote working and obviously from COVID, one of the big winners was micro-mobility, walking, biking, but also private vehicles. So the car actually became a real option due to the fear of contamination in public transport or sharing mobility. Now that lockdown have been relieved across the countries, we saw a good take-up on the shared mobility modes, as well as, of course, still a stronger usage on private vehicle and micro-mobility. The one which actually had some trouble to take up is public transport. The Arval Mobility Observatory is a research center that every year issue what we called the Mobility Barometer for corporates, where you have more than 5,000 companies answering a survey. And what we ask them is that, what are your intention to implement the following mobility modes in the coming 3 years? And as you can see, they are all almost all increasing. So it's kind of hard to say which one is the winner. I think here the winner is flexibility. Now it's became clear that multinational companies, but also local companies, the study is across 26 countries, are looking for flexibility. And this is something we will see in other aspects of the study in the future. Now, if we look at real estate market, which was heavily hit, obviously, by the lockdowns, we see that the office take-up has dramatically decreased from Q1 2020 to Q1 2021. Obviously, Q1 2020, there was no or very limited restriction related to the crisis, but still, it has, let's say, significant impact on the, let's say, level of transaction for new offices. What we saw in the course of 2021, we don't have the full figures yet, but we see a big rebound from this activity, especially on prime location, and that's extremely important. As for the office vacancy in Europe in Q1 2021 is only 7%, which means that most of the offices today are still occupied. However, if you drill down into that figure, you'll see that prime locations, so central offices in the center of Paris or London or Milan or whatever, the occupancy rate is extremely high, or the vacancy is extremely low, while second-hand offices in the suburb or secondary location, you see a vacancy much, much higher. In terms of rent, you see that the prices in those three major cities is flat, or in Paris with a slight increase, which means that companies are not fighting to leave those prime locations. They want to stay there. And this is a reflection that, you know, give us some hint about the future real estate strategies of companies, where they would really accept to decrease the surface of their offices, but would, let's say, put forward prime location to increase, let's say, the attraction or the attractivity, sorry, of their offices towards employees. Now, what's going to happen in the coming years? We see that, let's take an assumption, teleworking or remote working for companies will be on average 2 days per week. So let's take that as an assumption. And then, thanks to that, the companies will be able to give more room or square meters per employees in their premises. give them more room. It's not to have a bigger desk, it's to have collaborative spaces, it's to have bigger meeting rooms, it's to have a gym, it's, you know, it's to have other services in the office or around the office for the attraction of the employees. Which means that in any case, the impact on surface will be mitigated. I'm not saying it's going to remain flat, but it's probably going to be mitigated thanks to this. And if we look at the number of office job outlook, we see 10% in the number of office job available in Europe, which means that if you add up those three reasons, the real estate market will still remain strong and will have a strong rebound in the coming years, because the demand will continue to grow, and actually the demand will change with a higher need for space by employees. In a nutshell, de-densification, as we just said, so before the COVID, it was the opposite. We wanted to put as many employees in the same office to save space. But now it's the opposite. We want to make the office attractive. We want the office to become a place, not a place to work, but a place to meet, as someone told me yesterday. I think this is what explained that the most. Of course, second big change is remote working, where it basically boomed in the last 18 months. The need for flexibility, which was there, but now it's a must. It's a must to be flexible. If you want to keep the attractivity of your company for employees, you have to provide this level of flexibility, whether it's on how they use the office or how they are mobile in their private life or in their professional life. And something that was already strong but is even stronger today is the CSR aspect, with the effort from companies and, let's say, the industry overall to reduce the CO2 emission as much as possible. For us, it's through, obviously, electrification, but not only, also with the introduction of alternative mobility solutions. To plan, let's say, what will be the future with all those trends that we just explained is quite difficult. As mentioned, the picture by country, by industry, even by company culture can be extremely different. So there's no one solution fitting all companies. That's not true. A company based in the center of Paris and a company based, I would say, in a rural area may not have the same solution. Let's say the best solution are not the same. So from that perspective, we have to open our mind, and we tried with the team working on this study to define 4 scenarios that may describe the best most of the solution or strategy that companies will take. So work remotely or work at the office or both? That's the question. So on the left-hand side, you see so the matrix with the 4 scenarios that I will describe. And just to give you a bit of explanation, we have 2 axes. To be honest, we could have put a matrix with 800 parameters, but obviously we try to make it as simple as possible. But there's obviously plenty of parameters that enter that. Country, as I said, industry, as I said, culture, as I said, location, etc. So first axis is the ability and willingness to work remotely. And the second one, the ability and willingness to transform the office structure. All those scenarios may have an impact on, obviously, the office, but also on employees. And employees are key to ensure the success of the strategy you're going to take. If employees are not onboarded, you may face a big failure, impact on the attractivity of your company, and so on and so forth. So companies may put forward the sense of belonging. They want the employees to feel being part of a team, of a family, of a company. So they would tend to have those employees coming to the office. Other companies may say, I want my employees to be fully flexible. And this is how I want to be attractive to my employees. But whatever the solution you have, there's, as I said, no one solution fits all. Let's deep dive on the first scenario, what we called satellite approach. This satellite approach means, imagine a central offices in the center of London with a satellite office in near Gatwick, near Cambridge, or in the south of London, etc. This company typically would want the, or cannot, but would want the employees to come back to the office. However, in order to ease their commuting time, they will try to put antennas or satellites closer to their home in order to ensure that those employees will come to the office, will remain close to the company values and, of course, to their colleagues. Scenario 2 is the full remote approach. No more offices, fully remote organization with, let's say, the use of co-working space or venues for big gathering, for big meetings, and essentially, beside creation, beside innovation works, all the colleagues will only meet digitally. So that's this idea. Obviously, full flexibility, but kind of hard to keep the employees focused on the same goal and sense of belongings to the company, as we said. Scenario 3, we will deep dive later in the presentation. So I will not say more. For the scenario 4, the rapid return to the office, basically tell all your employees, guys, it was a crisis, it was something exceptional, now you all have to come back to the office. Well, you may think this is odd, but I have to say, we saw public announcement from a major American bank in the US. Their CEO said clearly, after the crisis, I want 100% of my employees at the office again, like it was before. So this is clearly something related to the culture of the company. So as I said, there's no one solution fits all. Culture, industry, country, location, everything is important and everything has a weight in the decision you will take. Of course, one will prevail over all. Clearly, this bank put the culture in front of everything else, and they want to have their employees at the office. Now, deep diving on the third scenario, as I mentioned. The third scenario is quite easy for me to explain because it's quite familiar with my own environment, let's say. Let's take a company who had several offices in let's say, a city and the suburb, etc. But they want to introduce remote working, let's say 2-3 days per week. They say, okay, there's an opportunity for me to make savings on the square meters I have available for my employees, so I will merge all the offices into one. This can actually have benefit that employees will have the flexibility for remote office, but they still have to come sometimes to the office for let's say meeting their colleagues, etc. Having said that, question is, what is the impact on mobility? Okay. If you take the fleet, for example, you may have, like this example, 30% of your fleet is job need cars. So you are, I don't know, it's technicians, sales, or whatever. You still want them to be mobile. You still want them to be close to their customers. So will you take a risk to disrupt this relationship because they were still doing it during the previous lockdowns? Maybe not. Maybe not. So what we see is that for job need cars, there's going to be limited, maybe no impact on the fleet size as it was previously. For benefit car, it's another issue. The issue is that we are touching on the attractiveness of your company. We're touching about salary of the employees. So it has, of course, to be taken very with a big sensitivity. Here, what we propose is that, of course, alternative mobility has to be investigated to make sure that these provide the level of flexibilities that employees are looking for, but we have to be honest, not everyone is living in the city centers. I heard previously that talking about company car is things from the past. I'm not sure. Tell that to my cousin living in a house where basically there's no one at 5 miles around. So I think he would need a car, you know. So if you tell your employee living in a rural area, well, we'll give you a bike and you can use a kick scooter if you want, well, he might not be happy. So let's be, let's say, cautious on the message that we pass. There's no one solution fittings all. Of course, for city dwellers, mobility, new mobility is a must and is obviously the best solution we can provide. So here, studying the feasibility depending on your own situation, on what you're going to do with your benefit cars, how you're going to introduce alternative mobility is key. One thing also to mention is that since you're going to have remote working, you have also to increase the attractiveness of your office, and implementing a mobility hub in your office is also one option. Bike sharing, car sharing, kick scooters, etc., maps application, everything can be done based in your office, and you'll see that it will increase the level of belonging, sense of belonging of your employees, increase the, let's say, attendance of your employees in the office as well, to make sure that you are not losing them in the way. So we have issued this white paper where you will see all the details of all scenarios. You can scan if you want using this QR code, and you will have access to it. Just to conclude, remote working is a game changer in many areas of our lives. We have to be mindful that not all, let's say, one solution is fitting all situations. And of course, your employees are key to ensure the success of this change, but while it's sure, something has to change. And last but not least, the new mobility can play a key role in this change while maintaining your sustainability ambitions that you already have as a company. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you very much.